الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. So I want to welcome everybody to our first installment of a series called The Ideal Muslim Man and the Ideal Muslim Woman. All right. I know I said that we were going to do it Saturday and Sunday, but the way my week is set up, so we'll leave it for Mondays, inshallah ta'ala. So these classes will be held every Monday at the same time, provided there's no change in my own schedule. Okay? So I hope you guys have some time. I know that a lot of you guys are at work right now. Some people are at work, and there's nothing I can do about that. All right? These classes have to revolve around my schedule. And this is the only time that my schedule will allow it. So for those of you who are at work and not able to sit down and fully listen to this, then, you know, inshallah, you can listen to it when you get home. All right. The classes will be recorded. Inshallah, once we're done, I'll upload it to YouTube and you'll have everything there, inshallah. So you won't miss anything. Okay. All right. So for you women, I hope you guys are listening, because you about to be in for a treat right now. All right. And these classes are free. I'm not charging you anything. In a normal instance, I would charge for this information, because the information is power. Information is power, and power is not just given to you, pro bono. You understand? Power is not just given to you pro bono. You have to pay for that, man. Information is power. All right, and there's nothing more powerful than information that will help steer your lives in the right direction based upon divine guidance from the Quran and the Sunnah. You understand? So a lot of times, we take it for granted that classes are given, and which is why personally now I don't give lectures. There was a time when every morning after Fajr and, this day or that day, you can find me giving lectures. I don't give lectures at all anymore, period. I don't. Because I come to the realization that we don't value knowledge. We don't. So scarcely every now and again, when I have some time in my schedule, I'm no longer inconveniencing myself, inconveniencing my family to give lectures to, majority Muslims who could give a damn, who could care less about the information that is being passed out. So, no harm, no foul. You know what I mean? Like, I'm living my best life, taking care of what I need to take care of on my end. And if I got time to share some information with brothers and sisters, then alhamdulillah, I'll do so. Other than that, nah, I'm sorry. It doesn't work like that. 10 years ago, I thought that giving lectures was my life. It was my life. And I, inconvenienced my family for so many years of my life, to break my neck to get to a masjid, to give a lecture, things like that. And, it was unappreciated. So today, I pick and choose, if I have time in my schedule to, share information with brothers and sisters. And then when I do so free of charge. And hopefully the information is effective. The information is, powerful enough to help, empower other people. So here we go. So we're talking about the ideal Muslim man. So we're going to start with the men first. I'm going to do 5 qualities. That means 5 Mondays. The next 5 Mondays, I will concentrate on 5 of the most top qualities that women require from men in a relationship. And we'll look at it from an ideal perspective, and then we'll look at it from a realistic perspective. This is why it's called the ideal Muslim man and the ideal Muslim woman, because we live, in an idealistically perfect world, and we should be living in a realistically perfect world. You understand? So it's the we're torn between living in an ideal Muslim, image of Islam and Muslims versus the reality of that. All right. And the book that was written, The Ideal Muslim Man, Ideal Muslim Woman, it just gives you the, the fluff, if you could say. the fluff of what a good Muslim man looks like, what a good Muslim woman looks like. And we read these books, man, and we get so caught up in that stuff, man. And it paints an image in our minds and our subconscious that is not realistic. Anybody who reads this book, The Ideal Muslim Man, Ideal Muslim Woman, you are deluded because you end up chasing a ghost, somebody that is not even there. Where are you going to find all of them qualities and characteristics in one person? Where are you going to find that at? Please tell me. That person doesn't exist. So when I'm talking about the ideal Muslim man, I'm talking about those qualities mentioned, but how they look in real time. All right? How they look in real time. So let's start on our journey. I hope you guys are paying attention, right? I hope you guys are paying attention, right? Because I'm not going to repeat these classes again, just as the marriage zone classes, just as the classes that I did last summer on the man logic, woman's intuition. I'm not repeating these classes over again. This stuff takes a lot of energy to prepare. And, you know, who gets it, gets it. If you don't get it, then you don't get it. I'm sorry. Which is why when people send me emails now, send me Facebook messages, could you please explain, could you do a class on I'm not doing no more classes on marriage, man. You got to be kidding me. I'm not doing no more classes on marriage. I'm not doing no more classes on the rights of the women and the rights. I'm like, come on, man. Like, come on. We're past that. We're past that, man. All right. So the ideal Muslim, pay attention. As Muslims, we tend to live in an ideal world and hold one another to ideal expectations. As Muslims, we tend to, yes, they're on YouTube. Yes. As Muslims, we tend to live in an ideal world, an ideally perfect Islamic world, this bubble that we create for ourselves. We create this Islamic bubble. We read all of these books about Islam, and then we create this perception of how Muslims are supposed to function. And this is why when people do things that, you know, that go against our expectations, we become frustrated because we're like, how could you do that? You're supposed to be Muslim. It's like, wake up, man. Wake up. Yeah, the person is Muslim, but what do you mean? How could the person do that? They're supposed to be Muslim. Muslim just means somebody who submitted outwardly. You understand? That's what it means to be a Muslim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told the Bedouin Arabs, don't say you believe. Lakin kulu aslamna, but say you submitted. وَلَمَّا يَدْخُلُ الْإِيمَانُ فِي قُلُوبِكُمْ. Like true faith has yet to enter into your hearts yet. Your expectations of Muslim, our expectations of one another as Muslims, you know what I mean? It's unrealistic. We say, oh, how could you do that? You're supposed to be Muslim. It's like, okay, but the person is still human. And if true faith has not entered into their hearts, the fact that they're Muslim, they could possibly do anything. They can commit fornication, they commit adultery, they commit treason, they can do anything under the title Muslim. Muslim just means that they have now come to the realization that God is one and they're willing to submit to that. As it relates to everything that entails, praying 5 times a day, fasting the month of Ramadan, lowering your gaze, staying away from major sins, that is a process that comes along with faith, not submission. Understand, but we don't read the Quran, so, here we go. So, as Muslims, we tend to live in an ideal world. We live in an ideal world, and we hold one another to ideal expectations. You're Muslim, you're not supposed to do that. You're Muslim, you're supposed to do this, right? Even in our marriages, you're not supposed to hurt me because you're Muslim. You're not supposed to do this to me because you're Muslim. It's like, that is an unrealistic expectation, man. I'm human as well. Don't forget about that, right? I'm human. Oh, you're supposed to be the imam. You're not supposed. So what does that mean? You're holding me to an unrealistic expectation. I'm still human. So we hold one another to, we live in an ideal world. We hold each other to ideal expectations, and we get frustrated when we don't get. We get frustrated when we get real results. We hold each other to ideal expectations, and we get frustrated when we get real results, realistic results. Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he used to supplicate. This is a dua that was mentioned in the Mu'jam al-Tabarani, that Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu is also mentioned in the Tafsir Ibn Kathir, where Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu used to supplicate, Allahumma arina al-haqqa haqqa, warzuqna ittiba'ah, wa arina al-batila batilan, warzuqna ijtinaba, wa la taj'alhu multabisan alayna fanadil. He said, oh Allah, show us the truth exactly the way that it is. I don't want to live in a world where everything is, perfect, and my expectations are as a result of my, of my perception, right? There's even, Islamic, maxioms, these qawaid that, hukm ala shay fara'un an tasawwuri, that your judgment of a thing is based upon your perception of it. Right? This is a rule in the, qawaid al-fiqhiyya. Right? Jurisprudent, maxioms and principles. This is part of our religion. Hukm ala shay fara'un an tasawwuri, that your judgment of a thing, right, is primarily based upon how you perceive it. So if you perceive that we live in a perfectly Islamic world, then your judgment of everybody is going to be based upon that perception. And it's not fair, because we don't live in a perfect world. Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu used to supplicate, oh Allah, show me truth exactly the way that it is. I want reality. I don't want idealistically. I want reality. Allahumma arina al-haqqa haqqa. Oh Allah, show me truth exactly the way that it is. Warzuqna ittiba'a, and give us the ability to follow it. Going back to the statement of Maya Angelou, when a person shows you who they are, believe them the first time. When a person shows you who they truly are, believe them the first time. Allahumma arina al-haqqa haqqa warzuqna ittiba'a. Oh Allah, show me truth exactly the way that it is, without any fluff. I don't want fluff. I want reality. Allahumma arina al-haqqa haqqa warzuqna ittiba'a. Oh Allah, show me truth exactly the way that it is, and give me the ability to follow it. Because seeing truth exactly the way it is not enough. Some people see truth exactly the way it is, and they do the total opposite. Some people see truth exactly the way it is, and they do the total opposite. So he asked, oh Allah, show me truth exactly the way it is, and then on top of that, give me the ability to follow it. When people show you who they are, believe them the first time. That's a quote from Maya Angelou, and it's in sync with the dua of Umar. He said, وَأَرِنَا الْبَاطِلَ بَاطِلًا وَرْزُقْنَا اجْتِنَابًا, and show me falsehood exactly the way that it is. I don't want fluff. I want to see falsehood exactly the way that it is, and give me the ability to stay away from it. Because some people see falsehood and they go right after it, even though you know it's a farce, even though you know it's not real, you know it's a mirage. Some women, you go after a man, you know this man is going to take advantage of you. You know it. You already know it. You can see the lies, you can see the swindling, you can see the lying by omission, not being totally honest. You can see all of that from the very beginning, but you still turn around and marry him anyway. So seeing falsehood exactly the way it is not enough. Give me the ability to stay away from it. Allahumma arina al-batila batilan warzuqna ijtinaba. Show me falsehood exactly the way it is, and give me the ability to stay away from it. And do not make falsehood something that I confuse with truth, so I follow it and it leads me astray. When people show you who they are, believe them the first time. Okay, so we have to stop creating an alternative world that makes it easy for us to function in, simply because we don't want to deal with the reality that is in front of us. Facts, power. That in itself is powerful. If I said nothing else, that in itself, we have to stop creating an alternative world to the world that we live in. We don't want to live in the reality of where we are. We create an alternative world that makes it easy for us to function in as Muslims, because we simply don't want to deal with the reality. Somebody's telling you, this person is not good for you. You say, well, I'm going to give a brother the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it. You're creating an alternative world. Falsehood staring you dead in your face. You keep going to this masjid, keep going to this masjid, knowing year after year after year, your iman is decreasing. But you keep telling yourself, these brothers are on the haq, they're Salafi, they're on the truth, they're this, they're that. So you create an alternative world because it's easy for you to deal with that rather than deal with the reality of what is in front of you. We do it all the time. We do it in our relationships. We do it in the paths that we follow in terms of our spirituality. We do it with the people that we keep in our circles. This person ain't no good for you. This person is a detriment, not to your health, but a detriment to your freaking life. And you still keep the person around you because you make all of these excuses for why you keep the person around you. Oh, the person is this. They're not that bad. They're not this and they're not. You're creating an alternative world that makes it easy for you to deal with because you don't want to deal with the reality. Facts. You become comfortable in your box. You create a comfort zone around falsehood. You create a comfort zone around falsehood because you don't want to deal with the reality. I mean, I can apply this to so many areas of our lives as Muslims. It's ridiculous. The brothers who you want to sell oils, you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to sell oils on the street corner, and you don't want to deal with the fact that the few dollars that you make on a day-to-day basis, man, okay, if you want to be an entrepreneur, why not create an online presence, create a Facebook page, create an Instagram. I'm giving you game. I'm giving y'all game right here for free. People got to pay for this stuff. Create an Instagram page, create a Facebook page. You know what I mean? Take a picture of your oils, give free samples and, create an online presence, create a name, create a brand, link up with other online, entrepreneurs and send free shipments of things, to get to brand yourself until you get to a point where, because on social media, image is everything. Image is everything. You can make yourself look like you importing oils from Egypt some freaking where. You could really make yourself look like you're larger than life on the internet. But no, you want to get up every day, put a thing that looks like you got a thing of shells, a gun, gun shells around your waist with oils in it, pushing a cart out on a street corner, hustling back and forth. And I mean, come on, man, this is how you live in your life. There's so much more that you can do with this, man. But we create an alternative world because it's easy for us to deal with that rather than deal with the reality that you are married, you have children, your children have no dental coverage, your spouse has no dental coverage, you have no insurance, no medical insurance, you have no guarantees. Every day that you get up, you go out and, what I mean? Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it. But we'll do it. And we're okay with that. You have some women who are married to brothers like this, and you okay with that. You okay with that. Anyway, stop creating alternative worlds that's easy for you to deal with simply because you don't want to deal with the reality in which you live. The ideal Muslim man, sisters, pay attention. This is about you guys right here. The ideal Muslim man is the one that is described in the texts of the Quran and the Sunnah. However, the Prophet ﷺ also informed us that times would change, and so would the people in it. Times will change, and so will the people in it. So although the Quran and the Sunnah describes the most ideal Muslim man, the most ideal Muslim spouse that a woman can go to, that a woman can search for, the times are going to change, and so will the people in those times. You think when the Prophet ﷺ prophesies about times changing, that doesn't include the people living in those times? Yes, it includes the people living in those times as well. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, "Bada al-Islamu ghariba wa sayaudu kama bada'a ghariba fatuba lil ghuraba." That Islam started off strange and alien, and it will return to being strange and alien, meaning that Islam will thrive in a time where Muslims themselves will be strangers to other Muslims. When the Prophet ﷺ said that Islam will return to being strange, who is he referring to? He's referring to Muslims who are strange to other Muslims. Pay attention to the connotations here. Pay attention to what the Prophet ﷺ is indicating here. He said that Islam started off strange and it will return to being strange. So give glad tidings to the strangers. And then the Sahaba asked him, "Man hum al-ghuraba ya Rasulullah?" Who are the strangers, O Messenger of Allah? The Prophet ﷺ said, "Unas salihun qalilun fi they are righteous people who are small group, righteous people living amongst a major group who are unrighteous." You understand? We're talking about Muslims being strangers to other Muslims, meaning that there are Muslims who will be living the reality of Islam, but they will be surrounded by other Muslims who will not be living the reality of Islam. And that's the time that we're living in. Stop having these expectations of other Muslims that, oh, he's Muslim. I just want a Muslim who follows the Quran and the Sunnah. What does that look like? I mean, please be more realistic, which is why when we had the first conversation about this, I was trying to get you guys to understand that all of the stuff that y'all throwing out, this is just stuff that, you were fed. These are, qualities and characteristics that you were fed, that you were told in the Muslim community that this is who you should be looking for as a spouse. That's what you were told. But you have to look at the reality of this. So the Prophet ﷺ, he's telling us clearly in this hadith that times are going to change, and so will the people change in those times. So that means that if the Quran says that the ideal Muslim man is a man who does this, who does this, who does this, how does that look in 2018? Does it look exactly the way it's mentioned in the Quran and the Sunnah? Or do we have to look at that realistically in the environments that we live in? And that's our problem. We create an alternative world, right? Similar with a lot of students of knowledge. They came home and they tried to make America or inner cities. We ain't talking about the suburbs. We're talking about the hardcore inner cities of North New Jersey, East Orange, New Jersey, South Philadelphia, North Philadelphia. We ain't talking about the suburbs. We're talking about the inner cities of African American communities and try to create an alternative world to the reality in which we were living. Students of knowledge, imams came home, had everybody dressing in white thobes, had all of the sisters wearing black and niqab and gloves and all this other stuff. And while that might be good for them, it blinded us to the reality in which we were living. Wallah al-Azim. It blinded us to the reality in which we were living. We were trying to create an alternative world that made it easy for us to practice Islam, rather than dealing with the reality in which we were living. So you had sisters who were getting high wearing niqab, wearing all black niqab. Wallah al-Azim. I remember, I ain't going to say the name of the masjid. We were sitting in the office in one of the masajids in the inner cities, right? And we had like maybe three drug dealers from that neighborhood come to the masjid. They knocked on the imam's door and they said, listen, we just wanted to let y'all know that, it's one of y'all sisters who keeps coming around the corner to buy drugs from us. Keep coming around the corner buying drugs from us. And she's, she wears the all black. She wears her face covered. These are drug dealers coming to the masjid telling us that there's a sister from our community who kept coming around the corner trying to buy drugs from them. And she was wearing all black. He was like, I told my mans, don't sell her nothing. She from the masjid, whatever the case may be, don't sell her anything. I'm just trying to keep y'all, and then once we got to the bottom of it, we found out who the sister was or whatever. And, then we referred her, to go get some help. You understand? This is real. This is real. I'm not making this up. This is real talk. This is real talk. You got sisters who was wearing niqab and jilbab and all black and was prostitutes. Prostitutes. I mean, like, real talk. So we're creating an alternative world that makes it easy for us, that is unrealistic, that makes it easy for us to live in rather than deal with the reality in which we're living. You had students of knowledge who graduated, came home, had everybody in white thobes, had all the sisters in black, right? And you smack dead in the middle of the ghetto. And all you concerned with is the fact that Muslim men are wearing thobes and sisters are wearing niqab and black, and we think that we've arrived. Wasalna. We've arrived at some degree of rectification of our situation, man. Meanwhile, the brothers with the white thobes on still sell drugs, still having children out of wedlock, still committing fornication and adultery, and the sisters wearing niqab and jilbab, still on welfare. So their situations their social condition has not improved. Neither has their spiritual situation. You can sit in a million lectures. You can study usul al-thalatha as much as you want. You can study qawaid al-arba. You can study usul al-sitta. You can study, any of the books of Ibn Taymiyyah, any of the books of the scholars of the Salaf of the past related to Aqidah, Islamic theology. It still does not change the fact that you are who you are. You understand? Here again, we're trying to create an alternative reality, reality to the real reality in which we're living, because that's easy for us. And we do it all the time. And meanwhile, 20 years have gone by, no improvement whatsoever. No improvement whatsoever. Right. Don't even get me to talk about transgender. Don't even get me to talk about that. That stuff is rampant in the Muslim community. Rampant. Nonetheless, the Prophet ﷺ talked about times changing, which also included people changing. The Prophet ﷺ said, لا تزال طائفة من أمتي ظاهرين على الحق لا يضرهم من خذلهم ولا من خالفهم حتى يأتي أمر الله وهم كذلك. The Prophet ﷺ said that there will never cease to remain a small group from my ummah open and apparent on the truth. None will harm them who forsake them, nor those who go against them. What the Prophet ﷺ is telling us here is that the majority of the ummah is going to change. The majority of the ummah is going to change. He said there will be a small group who will remain firm on Islam the correct way. But for the vast majority, they will be living amongst a vast majority of Muslims. You understand? So the ideal Muslim during these times is like a needle in a haystack. Which means that if sisters are looking for the ideal Muslim man as described in the text of the Quran and the Sunnah, then you may be chasing a ghost. That if sisters are looking for the ideal Muslim man as described in the Quran and the Sunnah, you might in fact be chasing a ghost, because he probably doesn't exist. He's a needle in the haystack. He's a diamond in the rough. Yeah, he probably doesn't exist. As described in the Quran and the Sunnah, please. That's a needle in the haystack, a diamond in the rough. He probably doesn't exist. And what you end up doing by chasing this person, right, is you end up oppressing people. You end up oppressing men that you come in contact with, and you end up dismissing the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How? You end up oppressing brothers because you have an image in your mind of what the ideal Muslim man looks like. I remember a sister, coming into my office. Right? And I said, sis, what are you looking for? She said, I'm looking for this type of brother, that type of brother. She said, and I'm looking for a brother who wears a thobe. I don't want no tight jean wearing brother, t-shirt wearing brother. She said, my husband has to wear a thobe. I said, so let me get this straight. I said, so if the brother has a good job, he prays 5 times a day, he fasts the month of Ramadan, he's honest, trustworthy, can read the Quran in English. I gave her the whole rundown. I said, however, he doesn't wear a thobe. I said, you wouldn't marry a brother like that? She said, no. I don't want no jean wearing, t-shirt wearing brother. The man that I want to marry is a brother that wears a thobe every day. I said, every day? She said, every day he has to wear a thobe. Because I don't want my children growing up dressing like kuffar. Those wallah al-azim, without me adding anything, without me subtracting anything from what she said. Those were her words to me. That is oppressive. And that is dismissing the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because you have so many men that I don't wear a thobe. I guess that would make me unqualified too. I mean, just think about how many men you are dismissing simply because he doesn't wear a thobe. Not to mention he prays 5 times a day. Not to mention, he's a good brother. Not to mention that he has a good job, No, it's not necessarily that she was young, but she created an alternative reality to the reality that she lived in because that was easy for her. Easy for her. And I mean, she's entitled to that. Wallahu a'lam whether she ever found a thobe wearing brother 24/7, right? Maybe she did. Maybe she did. Alhamdulillah. I'm not disputing that. But what I'm saying is, you end up dismissing the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you end up oppressing somebody because you're chasing this image, this unrealistic image in your mind of what an ideal brother is. So when you finally marry a brother, you're steady trying to superimpose on him what your idea of sisters, please don't get into what brothers do that too. I am getting to the brothers. When I deal with the ideal Muslim woman, trust and believe, I will give the brothers the business. We're not dealing with the brothers right now. We're dealing with the sisters. Don't make this a back and forth. Trust me, we will get to that. I won't neglect you. Trust me. But what I'm saying is that she has created an alternative reality to the reality in which she is living based upon, these images that she's gathered from the Quran and the Sunnah and not looking at that in terms of real time. And you oppress people. You study trying to superimpose on people what your image of a good Muslim is. That's your perception. Not my reality. That's your perception of what a good Muslim man is. Not my reality. So I have to wear thobe in order to, become a good Muslim man in your reality, in your world. Nah. All right, so you end up oppressing people and dismissing the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, chasing someone that is not real or is such a rarity that chasing him is actually a waste of time. The first quality that we want to deal with of an ideal Muslim man is trust. The first quality that I want to deal with today of the ideal Muslim man is trust. Muslim women want a man, or just any woman for that matter, want a man that they can trust. Muslim women want a man that they can trust. I don't think that there's any woman out there that would disagree with me. Although you always have that exception to the rule. Brother Shadid, don't generalize. Not every woman wants a man that they can trust, right? Okay, cool. So that small group of women who don't want a man that they can trust, I'm not talking to them. I'm talking to the vast majority of women who want a man that they can trust. Okay. And I think that every relationship requires at least some level or some degree of trust, and every relationship will eventually crumble without it. I hope I hope I'm corrected. I stand in truth of that. All right. So, but when women say they want a man that they can trust, what does that actually mean? Idealistically and realistically, what does that mean? What does it mean when a woman says, I want a man that I can trust? Right? What does that look like idealistically And then what does that look like realistically? Right? First, let's talk about why trust is important. That's the first thing. Why is trust? Brothers, I'm praying that brothers are listening to this. Let's understand why trust is important, because for many of us as men, we may not see this as being, that important. But trust is at the top of the priorities list. All right? So let's talk about why trust is important to a woman and how a woman can really open up and fully surrender herself to her spouse, to her husband, when she is receiving trust in her relationship. You understand? Why is trust important? Because when a woman is getting trust from her spouse, from her man, from her husband in the relationship, she will fully open up and fully surrender herself physically and emotionally when she feels secure in that relationship, both emotionally and physically. There are levels to trust in a relationship. Number one, there is emotional trust. A woman has to be able to trust a man with her emotions, right? And in return, the woman is giving you loyalty in return for your trust, which is not a fair exchange at all. So it's actually a robbery, which is why when women's trust, when you break that trust with a woman, it's almost impossible to repair that, because she's giving you her loyalty in return for your trust. She's trusting that, you're going to respect, her privacy. She's trusting that, with her heart, that she's giving you her heart. She's, going to give that to you. In return, she's giving you loyalty. She's going to be loyal to you. And the Prophet ﷺ said the best type of woman that you can have is a loyal woman. He said, إِذَا أَمَرْتَهَا أَطَاعَتْكَ, that when you command her, you instruct her, she obeys you. Loyalty. That when you give her instruction, she obeys you. وَإِذَا غِبْتَ عَنْهَا حَفِظَتْكَ فِي مَالِهَا وَمَالِهَا وَفِي جَسَدِهَا, that when you are in her absence, she preserves your wealth and she preserved her chastity when you are gone. You understand? That's loyalty. This is the best type of woman that a man can have. That this woman, when you look at her, إِذَا نَظَرْتَ إِلَيْهَا سَرَّتْكَ, when you look at her, she pleases you. She's loyal to you, meaning she only beautifies herself for you. She's not trying to beautify herself for other men. She only has you in her vision. That when you look at her, she pleases you. When you command her, she obeys you. When you are absent, she preserves your honor by protecting her chastity and protecting your wealth. This is the best type of woman that you can marry. That's loyalty. And when does a woman give you all that? When you out cheating, you lying to her, when does a woman give you all of that? When you've given her trust. That goes both ways. You understand? The woman will give you that. A woman will spend time to beautify herself for you. A woman will, preserve her chastity in your absence, because there's a loyalty there. She doesn't see another man. She doesn't see another man. There's no other man in her scope but you. And that's only when she feels emotionally secure, financially secure, physically secure in that relationship. Facts all day. So there is an emotional trust that the woman is expecting from the man. And when the woman is giving you loyalty in return, that means that trust means everything to them. It may not mean that much to us because we're living in a cutthroat world as men. So, in the corporate world, in the job world, it's cutthroat. So for us, loyalty, trust and things like that is not really a big deal. We'll cross you. We'll double cross you. Triple cross you, whenever an opportunity presents itself. But when you're dealing with your woman in a relationship, that can't be, you can't do that. You can't do that. Physical trust. The woman needs to know that she is not in danger in her relationship with you. She's not in danger of being hit physically. She's not in danger of being verbally abused. She's not in danger, like she's like walking on eggshells. The next thing I say, he might slap me. He might hit me. He might get angry with me. He might verbally abuse me. That woman needs physical trust that she's in this relationship and you're not going to harm her. You're not going to harm her. You're not going to take advantage of her financially. That the woman has money. You married a woman that has money, but you honor the fact that she worked for that. And you're not going to just take that and squander it. So understand there are levels to trust in a relationship. How is trust built in a relationship? How is trust built in a relationship? Trust is built in a relationship by demonstrating consistency in statements and actions. Your actions and your statements have to be consistent. That's what women look for. Brothers, I hope you're paying attention. Women are looking for consistency between your statements and your actions. And this is something that even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala abhors. Allah hates inconsistency between statement and action. Allah says in the Quran, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu lima taqulu ma la taf'alun kabara maqtan 'inda Allahi an taqulu ma la taf'alun. O you who believe, why is it that you say what you do not do? Hateful in the sight of Allah is that you say what you don't do. You understand? It's hated to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How much more would that be to a human being who is living in the same space, sharing the same space with you? Every day, she's living, sharing the same space with you, and your actions and your statements are inconsistent, incongruent with one another. You understand? And the more and more your actions and your statements are consistent, the more and more it helps to build the trust with the woman. When you start saying one thing and doing something else, women pay attention to that stuff. You showing up for events on time. The woman told you, I have this event coming up. And you say, yeah, you agree. I'm going to, I'm going to go and I'm going to show up. And then the day of, it's like, oh, I got something else I need to do. And you have men that do that all the time. They make agreements to do things and go places. And then the day of, oh, something else came up. Respecting boundaries. Like when a woman sets certain boundaries in a relationship and you agree to that, especially during the premarital phase of the marriage. You have brothers who say, oh, no, I'm not going to change you. I'm going to let you, do your thing, whatever. I know who I'm marrying. And then finally, once he marries you, then he goes against that completely, trying to change you, trying to mold you and fashion you here again into being the best, the most perfect specimen of the reality that he created in his mind. You understand? You didn't respect my boundaries, brother. Respect the woman's boundaries. Keeping information secret. That when a woman shares something with you, you don't take that information and go share it with your baby mother. If you're in polygyny, you take that information, you go share it with your other wife. And then your wife has to hear about it from other people. It's like, damn, like I shared that with you. That was between me and you. And then you took that information and you went and shared it with your mother. You took that information, you went and shared it with somebody else outside of our circle. You violated that, man. And brothers in polygyny are the worst with that. You take information from one household and you go to another household and you expose it. Unnecessarily. There's some situations that if you're rectifying a situation, then obviously you got to get in there and you need to mention certain things or whatever the case may be to rectify. But unnecessarily, I'm just talking about gossip. Gossip. You have men who gossip like chicks, who gossip like women. Gossip. How you a man in polygyny got multiple wives and you gossip worse than some of the women? The strain between the relationship of the co-wives is as a result of the gossiping of the husband. You gotta be kidding me. You gossip more than they do. And of course, being dependable. These are all things that help to build the trust in the relationship. We're talking about making sure your actions and your statements are consistent, showing up for, events that are agreed upon, carrying out your word. If you say you're going to do something, then you carry through with that. Number two, respecting boundaries. If a woman sets certain boundaries for you in the beginning of the relationship, then you should respect that. You should respect that. And not use the Quran and the Sunnah to override that. We say, oh yeah, I know I agreed to that at the beginning of the relationship, but now, blah, blah. Like, no, you agreed to that. And the Prophet ﷺ said, Al-Muslimun ala shurutihim, that the Muslims, when they make agreements, they abide by those agreements. That's part of our deen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, first ayah in Surah Al-Ma'idah, first ayah in Surah number 5, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu awfu bil uqud. Oh, you who believe, fulfill your oaths. When you take an oath that you're going to do something or you're going to respect a certain space, then you have to abide by that. You have to fulfill that. You can't double back and say, well, I know I said that then, but now it's a different story. La wallahi, you agreed to that. And of course, being dependable. The woman needs to know that she can depend on you. Not just emotionally, not just financially, physically. That she can depend on you. You understand? That women are looking for men that they can depend on. But you're constantly emotionally unavailable. Every time she needs you, you're always somewhere else. Always, looking for another wife or looking for the next best thing. So when your woman needs you at that moment, you're absent. You're absent. You're emotionally detached. When she needs somebody to talk to, when she needs someone, to help talk her off the ledge, we're emotionally unavailable. We hang a sign out of our door and it says emotionally unavailable right now. Out to lunch. We'll be back. And it's at a time when a woman needs you. So, as it relates to trust, people fall into one or two categories. Sisters, you need to do some assessment, some self-assessment, evaluation of yourself right now. People, as it relates to trust, women, I'm talking about women. When women, as it relates to trust, you fall into one or two categories. Either you give everybody 100% of your trust until they prove untrustworthy. You give everybody 100%. I trust everybody, right? This might come from a secure place or it might come from an insecure place. Just because you trust everybody doesn't mean that you secure in your spot. You trust everybody because you don't want people to believe that you have trust issues when in fact you do. So it's coming from a place of insecurity, not security. So don't think that a person, because I trust everybody, and I'm secure in my spot. No, you're not. You're not secure in your spot. What you are trying to avoid is people accusing you of having trust issues, which makes you look insecure. So therefore, you give everybody 100% of the trust until they hurt you. Instead of you just sticking to your guns from the very beginning and saying, yes, I do have trust issues. I've been hurt before. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. And I have a hard time trusting people. Nothing wrong with that. But don't give a person 100% of your trust until they hurt you, which eventually they are going to hurt you. And then once you shut them out, right, through your resentment, right? Because when trust has been violated, you know what that translates into. That translates into resentment. Because you feel like I trusted this person. I gave this person, right? And they violated me. So you shut them out. And you resent them. Borderline hate. You resent them for violating your trust, especially because you trusted them, so much. And this is especially true for those of us who, are introverts. You know what I mean? Like, we trust hard. And when that trust is violated, we take it hard. Yes, absolutely. So there's some people who give everybody 100% of trust. And you shouldn't do that anyway. I don't care if that's just who you are. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, خُذُوا حِذْرَكُمْ. Take your precautions. To be cautious. That's natural. That's normal. That's a command from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be cautious, to proceed with caution. But we want to open ourselves up, and then whoever hurts us, then I'm going to just shut them out. I'm going to resent them. I'm going to dislike them, right? No. That's not, you say, well, that's just who I am. I don't have reservations. That's just who I am. Well, you should have reservations. You should. You should have reservations. As I said before, the Prophet ﷺ said that times would change, which means, yes, it's guarded optimism. Thank you. Ow, mashallah. That's exactly what I wrote on. You're guarded. You talking about guarded optimism. I'm talking about open optimism. You just trust everybody. You let everybody into your life. You trust that everybody is going to do right by you, right? And meanwhile, people see you as a vic. They see you as a victim. And they take advantage of you every single time. And then you end up the type of person that's always, always walking around, guarded by everybody, because that's eventually who you become. You should be guarded optimism. Thank you, Brother Al. You hit the nail right on the head. Guarded optimism. Yes, I trust, but I still have my reservations. I'm still guarded. I'm still protecting myself. You understand? Guarded optimism. That's the exact term that I'm looking for. And then number 2 is the type of person who gives no trust at all. This is the pessimist, right? You give no trust. You don't trust nobody, right? You give 0% of your trust until it is earned. Every little mistake brings the person right back down to 0. You don't trust nobody. And it's very hard to get you to open up to trust the person. So we're between one extreme or the other. A lot of women in your relationships, this is exactly who you are. You are between one extreme, I don't trust nobody. And every man that comes into your life has to earn your trust, which is not fair to the man. It's not fair to me that I have to prove myself trustworthy to you because of some past pain and hurt that you have been through. You're steady judging me through a lens of something that I had absolutely nothing to do with. Understand that trusting somebody is a choice. When you got into a relationship with that person, you had a choice to trust that person. And if you are not ready to trust, then you're not ready to be in a relationship. Facts all day. Trust is a choice. Trust is a choice. When you go into a relationship, you are making a conscious decision to trust this person. Even if it's, guarded. Even if it's guarded, there's still some level of trust. But it's not fair that a man has to prove that they're trustworthy because you have been hurt before. And then here again, you being hurt before, you're not taking any responsibility for, the vulnerable situation you put yourself in. How you get out of one relationship and jump right back into another, hoping that this man that, is the rebound relationship, is going to satisfy and fulfill your needs. You understand? And you tell him, as I said before, sometimes you expose yourself. You say, well, I just got out of a relationship. The brother hurt me real bad. And, the other man is just sitting there like, okay, I'm dealing with a vulnerable one. You're setting yourself up for failure. You are setting yourself up for failure. The man that violated your trust, you had no control over that. What someone does to you, you don't have any control over. But you do have control over how you respond to that. And putting everybody in this box of, I'm not trusting this person. You understand what I'm saying? It's not fair that a man has to come in and prove to you that he's trustworthy. Trusting somebody is a choice. And you make that choice when you decide to go into a relationship with someone. You're trusting that this person on some level, that, he's going to honor my heart. He's going to honor my life. He's going to honor my relationship, honor my kids. And in his mind, he might not even be thinking on that level. So now let's deal with the realism of trust amongst Muslims. Trust is a rarity amongst Muslims today. Facts. I ain't even talking about in general. I'm talking about within the Muslim community. Trust is a rarity in the Muslim community today. Let me tell you why. The Prophet ﷺ said, أول ما يرفع من الناس الأمانة وآخر ما يبقى الصلاة ورب مصل لا خير فيه. The Prophet ﷺ said that the first thing to be lifted from this ummah is trustworthiness. The first thing that will be removed from this ummah is trustworthiness. And the last thing that will be left in this ummah is the salah. He said, and when you have that, think about those parallels. The first thing to be removed is trustworthiness, and the last thing to be left of Islam is the salat. He said, "Rubba musallin la khayra fi." He said, perhaps a person will pray and there's no good in him. Wallah al-azim, if we're not living in that time right now, I don't know what time that is. He said, "Rubba musallin la khayra fi." Perhaps a person prays and there's no good in him because he doesn't have trustworthiness. The person can't be trusted. How do you pray, right? And then you don't have any trustworthiness. There's no good in you. And another narration on the authority of Abdullah bin Mas'ud, the Prophet ﷺ said, أَوَّلُ مَا تُفْقَدُونَ مِنْ دِينِكُمْ أو تفقدون من دينكم الأمانة وآخر ما تفقدون منه الصلاة وسيصلي قوم ولا دين لهم. The Prophet ﷺ said that the first thing that you will lose from your religion is trustworthiness. The first thing that you will lose from your religion is trustworthiness. And the last thing that you will lose from your religion is the salat. He said, and perhaps people will pray and they have no deen. No deen. You got a Muslim who prays, he lies, he steals, he takes advantage of people, whatever the case, but he makes salat 5 times a day. It means absolutely nothing. La khayra fi, no good in him. If you can't be trusted, I don't care how many salats you pray, ain't no good in you, period. If you cannot be trusted, there is no good in you. I don't care if you pray 5 times a day. You understand? This is the words of the Prophet ﷺ. And this is the time that we're living in right now. No good left in you. I don't care if you pray 5 times a day. The Prophet ﷺ says, "Sayusalli qawmun wala deena lahum." A man, we will come to a time where people will pray and they have no religion. Because if you're not trustworthy, then you don't have no deen. If you can't be trusted, you have no deen. I don't care how many salats you pray. I don't care how many Ramadans you fast. You can't be trusted. People can't trust you. Your wife can't trust you. If your wife can't trust you to do right by her, based upon what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, these are not even stipulations your wife gave you that are outside the Quran and the Sunnah. These are things that Allah obligated on you. These are things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala obligated. And you can't even adhere to that. La khayra fi. There's no good left in you, period. I don't care how many salats you pray. If you can't be trusted. So the trustworthiness of this ummah has been diminishing since the death of the Prophet ﷺ. The trustworthiness of this ummah, right, has been diminishing from the time of the Prophet ﷺ. One of the tabi'un, he said, "Kunna fi ahdi nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam nabi'u wa nashtari'u ba'duna min ba'd." During the time of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, we used to buy and sell from one another. During the time of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, we used to buy and sell, do business with one another. He said, وَبَعْدَ وَفَاةِ النَّبِي صَلَى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمْ لَا نَبِيعُ وَلَا نَشْتَرِئُ إِلَّا مِنْ فُلَانٍ وَفُلَانٍ. But after the death of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we only do business with this person and that person. Selected few. Because people are not trustworthy. This was during the time of the tabi'un. You understand? He said, during the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we used to do business with everybody. كُنَّا نَشْتَرِي بَعْضُنَا مِنْ بَعْضٍ. We used to buy and sell one of us to another. Not a big deal. He said, and after the death of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, la nabi'u wa la nashtari'u illa min fulan wa fulan, and we don't do business with nobody except this person and that person. Selected few. You understand? Selected few. So trustworthiness has been diminishing from the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam all the way up into our time right now. Umar radiallahu anhu, he overheard a man saying another man was sadiq. was truthful, right? And Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu turned to the man and he asked him, Asahabtahu fi safarin? Have you ever traveled with him? The man said, no. Umar then asked him, Fatamantahu ala shay? Have you ever entrusted him with something? The man said, no. Umar then asked the man, Akhalattuhu? Have you ever spent a great deal of time? Have you ever lived with him in his home with him? And the man said, no. Then Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu said, Wallahi alladhi la ilaha ghayru ma ta'rifuhu. Umar said, I swear by the one whom there's no God except him, you don't know the man. You don't know him. I swear by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ma ta'rifuhu. You don't know him. Don't say such and such is Sadiq. And imams do it all the time. Oh, you're introducing this sister to this brother. Oh, mashallah, he's a good brother. He comes highly recommended. Bull spit. Bull spit. He comes highly recommended? On whose call? Ada qawli man. On whose call has he come highly recommended? You got imams that do this stuff, man. Imams that do this stuff. Oh, sister, the brother's good, decent brother, good brother, mashallah. You don't ever say he's a good brother as far as I know, right? You don't say he's a good brother as far as I know. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hasibu, Allah knows him best. You understand? That's what we should say. Ahsabahu kada wallahu hasibuhu. I consider him such and such, but Allah knows him better. He's a good dude. He's a good dude. Based upon what is he a good dude? You see him in the masjid praying. Umar said, Wallahi alladhi la ilaha ghayru. I swear by the one whom there's nothing worthy of worship except him. Ma ta'rifu. You don't know him. He's always in the masjid. MashaAllah. In another narration, Umar said to the man, have you ever done business with him? He said, no. He said, have you ever traveled with him? He said, no. He said, have you ever entrusted him with anything? He said, no. He said, wayhak. Woe be, shame on you. For you to call this man sadiq, for you to call this man truthful. He said, wayhak, woe be to you. He said, لَعَلَّكَ رَأَيْتَهُ يَخْفِضْ وَيَرْفَعْ رَأْسَهُ فِي الْمَسْجِدِ. He said, perhaps you are making your opinion of him, your perception of him is based upon the fact that you see him lowering and raising his head in the masjid. MashaAllah. You made your whole judgment, this brother is truthful. Meanwhile, the sister marries the brother and he's everything but truthful. Lying from day one. Lying from the very beginning. Then how do we go back and sit in front of this imam and listen to his khutbah after you just married me to this brother based on your word? Right, and in certain communities, when a woman wants to divorce a man like that, she's frowned upon because he got the whole community fooled. He got the whole community fooled. MashaAllah. So the primitive understandings of trust are gone. I hope you guys are getting this through your mind. I hope you guys are listening clearly, man. These primitive understandings of trust and trustworthiness, nah. This dude, I thought I blocked him. Here we are talking about ideal Muslim man. He asked me, what's your aqidah? Here you've been listening, however long you've been listening. Like, come on, man. What have you heard me say except Allah said, His Messenger said, the Sahaba said? If you need to ask somebody what their aqidah is, then you don't understand aqidah. I don't ever need to ask somebody what their aqidah is. I can listen to you talk for 5 minutes and I already got you clocked. I can listen to your references and I already got you clocked. I don't need to ever ask somebody what your aqidah is. If you have to ask somebody what their aqidah is, that means that you don't understand aqidah. Because if he's Ash'ari, if he's Maturidi, if he's, this or that, Sufi, whatever, you should be able to tell what the person's aqidah is just by listening to him for a few minutes. So, I mean, come on, man. This is Aqidah 101, man. Anyway, moving right along. So we have to be realistic about what trust looks like today. We have to be clear about what trust looks like today. You understand? Number one, we live in a society of false impressions. We live in a society of false impressions. Look at social media. Social media has conditioned us as Muslims to be other than completely truthful about who we are. Facts. So I told you, I gave you number one, dalil from the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ that trustworthiness has been removed from our ummah. I gave you that. Proof from the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ that trustworthiness has been removed, starting to diminish from our ummah. I gave you an example from the time of Umar bin al-Khattab, from the time of the Tabi'un. I gave you two examples to show you how even during those earlier periods in Islamic history that trustworthiness has begun to diminish. Now I'm going to give you some modern day examples. Give you some modern day examples to show you clearly how Muslims have lost touch with this quality of being trustworthy. Pay attention. We live in a society of false impressions. Look at social media today. Let me just block him too. You come on social media and you commenting on another man's beard. Gotta be a millennial, because nobody from my generation would do something like that. Why do you care about what somebody else's beard? You're a man. Why are you worried about what somebody else's beard looks like? You look like 38 while you got so much gray in your beard. Why are you paying attention to my beard, man? Listen to what's being said. Nah, I blocked him. We ain't got to tell him, give him no advice. I have very short fuse when it comes to stuff like that. We're living in a society of false impressions. Look at social media and how it has conditioned us to be other than completely truthful about, who we are. Right? Who we are and what we are. This duplicity, right? Because that's what it is. Duplicity, right, of our culture has shaped us into being two-dimensional beings, right, who lead double lives. In the masjid, we're one way. Outside of the masjid, we're a total different person. We're on social media one way. When you meet us in real life, we're totally different. You understand? You understand? This duplicity, man, like this is what has happened to us. And we are affected by that as Muslims. So we've been conditioned. We've been conditioned to have two faces, to live two different lifestyles. And as Muslims, some of us, we are part of that problem. We are part of the reason why that exists. Because we won't allow people to just be who they are. We've created in the Muslim community, this alternative world. This alternative world that is perfect, picture perfect, of fluff. You come to the masjid, you have to be completely dressed, you have to be, so nobody says anything to you, nobody says anything about you. You can come in, you can pray, and then you can leave, and then you can kind of be who you want to be. You understand? We've done that. We've created this alternative world in the local Muslim communities where people are not allowed to be who they really are. So we have to now, change who we are. There was a time when if I didn't have a thobe on and I went into the masjid, I would take my thobe out of my car, out of my trunk, put my thobe on and go into the masjid just because I was afraid of people seeing me with normal, regular clothes on. I was afraid. I was afraid that people would talk about me. And they did anyway. You understand? They did. You go into the masjid, dressed like this or whatever, and then you leave out, and then you hear this person talking about, oh, he didn't have a thobe on, and I seen him here. It's like, subhanallah al-azim. We don't allow people to just be who they are. We don't. So we've contributed to this two-faced, this duplicity. We've contributed to that. Not to mention on social media, you got to be perfect on social media. right? You got to be perfect in on social media. So we got to post the best pictures of ourselves. We got to post pictures of ourselves like when I was 17, 18, and we make that our thumbnail, our picture. So when you first open up our page, you see a picture of us when we were in our prime, when we feel like that's the best picture of me. When in reality, you don't look like that anymore. You look like that 10 years ago. You look like that 15 years ago. But the social media has us thinking that we have to show the best side of ourselves at all times. People have to believe that our lives are perfect all the time. You don't think that this has contributed to the duplicity? You don't think that this has contributed to the two-faced? You don't think that this has contributed to the lack of trustworthiness amongst Muslims? Absolutely. Life imitates art. Life imitates culture. The art, everything that is here, social media, all of that. Not all of us. Now, there's a select few, obviously. There's a select few. But you are a needle in a haystack. Filters, right? Snapchat filters, right? You want to put freckles on your face. You want to, lighten your skin up a little bit. You want to put, chinky eyes, because in our minds, these are, good images of, what we would like to look like. What we would like to look like. But we don't realize how that is taken away from the authenticity of who we really are. Just be authentically you. No filters. And that means not just on social media, but in your real life. Real life. No filters. Just be who you are. No fluff, minus the fluff. But here we are, right? So we get caught up into being what other people want us to be while forgetting about the fact that there's a reality to who we really are. We do this in job interviews. We go on job interviews and we talk, a certain way, and we carry ourselves a certain way so we can get the job. And then once we get on the job, it's like, all right, I can be normal now. Right? We do it on the job. Like you work in corporate or whatever the case may be. You got to dress a certain way, talk a certain way so that you can, blend in corporate. You have teachers who live double lifestyles. Teachers. We're talking about middle school, high school teachers who are in their mid-20s, late 20s, who graduate with degrees, who are in the classroom with children during the week, and you partying and posting pictures of yourself at party holding up champagne bottles on social media during the week. I mean, why not choose a job where that is not frowned upon? You chose a profession where children have to look up to you a certain way all the time. All the time. We do it during sit downs. Absolutely. During the sit down process, we come in, we got on our best. You don't even wear a thobe. You don't wear a thobe at all. But you come to the masjid, you come to the sit down, you got on a thobe. Right? Just took it out the box. The thobe is still wrinkled because you never even ironed it. You just took it out the box. You come, you sit down at the sit down, and inshallah, mashallah, every other word comes out of your mouth is inshallah, mashallah. You ain't used Allah's name that much in your entire life. During one sit down, you've collected so many hasanat from one sit down, from saying mashallah, subhanallah, inshallah, so many times. You collect more hasanat during your sit down process than you do on a regular basis. Because you don't even use Allah's name that much in your normal everyday life. You've collected within the 45-minute hour sit down that you had with the sister. You've managed to collect as more hasanat during that sit down process than you do your whole day, because you don't even mention Allah's name that much on a normal basis. MashaAllah. So, all of these things are contributing to us being two-faced. All of these things are contributing to us not being our authentic self. All right. So that's one of the things that we have to be aware of. Look at how, social media is affecting our ability to be authentic. That's what I'm saying. Number 2 is that men, we have to stop trying to spare women's feelings. You are in fact a liar. You lie. But we lie under the guise of, I'm trying to spare her feelings, right? You're trying to spare the woman's feelings. So you lie by omission. You don't tell the whole story. You don't tell everything because you feel like by exposing everything, I'm hurting her feelings. By cheating on her, you're hurting her feelings, genius. By lying to her, you're hurting her feelings, genius. How you cheat on a woman and then tell her half of the story and then omit the other half because you say, I don't want to hurt her feelings. God damn it, you already hurt her feelings. You cheated on her. It doesn't get any worse than that. At least the very least thing you could do in that situation is just to be honest. You gotta be kidding me, man. I'm laughing at the audacity of men who do this. I'm laughing at the audacity, the man logic that even in a situation where you have an opportunity to come clean and get that off of your back, you carrying this lie and you still going through with the lie, justifying it by saying, well, I don't want to tell her everything because I don't want to hurt her feelings. You don't already hurt her feelings. You cheated on her. It don't get no worse than that. Right. Tell her and let her figure that out. But we got to stop lying, man. We have to stop lying. Men have to stop lying. Stop lying. And just be honest. Stop saying I'm sparing the woman's, and although you think it's the gentleman thing to do that you're sparing her feelings, she sees you as a liar. Just stand in your discomfort and own your mistake. Stand in your discomfort. A woman, even if she's mad, she still respects the fact that you were at least honest with her. Well, at least you were honest with me, right? We're not talking about females right now. We're talking about men, the ideal Muslim man. We'll get to the women, inshallah. We'll get there. Just stand in your discomfort and say, I effed up. I messed up. I'm a human being. I'm a man living in 2018, bombarded by images of naked women everywhere. Billboards, TVs, social media, you name it. I'm a man. I made the mistake. I own that. I'm sorry. You understand? Stand in your discomfort and own your truth. And don't let anybody else hang your truth over your head, man, and dangle it in front of you. So, men have to, just, be honest and stop lying. Stop telling yourself, you got brothers who say, well, I don't, I can go and marry a second wife. It's not from the sunnah. I don't have to, stop using it's not from the sunnah to dismiss, what is intellectually sound. How do you go and marry another woman and say, well, technically from the sunnah, I don't have to tell her? Okay, genius, what do you think is going to happen when she find out? What do you think is going to happen when she find out? It's not from the, you think she's going to say, oh, it's not from the sunnah, so I don't have any issues with it. It's not from the sunnah, so I don't have an issue with it. You got to be kidding me. Stop using it's not from the sunnah, it's not from Islam. And I mean, most of the people who say that, you don't know enough of the sunnah to say it's not from the sunnah. How much of the sunnah do you really know for you to sit here and say it's not from the sunnah? How much of the sunnah do you really know to even say that? Religious abuse. Absolutely. Spiritual abuse. How you say it's not from, technically it's not from the sunnah. I don't have to tell my wife if I go and take another wife. I don't have to tell her it's not from the sunnah. MashaAllah. Technically it is from the sunnah. The Prophet ﷺ, all of his marriages were done in public. Did you know that? The Prophet ﷺ never got married in secret and nobody didn't know about it. Every marriage the Prophet ﷺ had, we have documented, recorded evidence of it in the Quran, in the Sunnah. He doesn't want the responsibility of the truth. Thank you, Brother Ali. He doesn't want the responsibility that comes along with being authentic. Allahu Akbar. You don't want the responsibility that comes with being authentic. Last point is that women have to distinguish a legitimate trust issue with their husband from their own insecurities rooted in past pain. All men are not liars. All men are not liars. Some women have already, accepted the fact all men lie, all men are liars. I don't trust no man. Well, guess what? You are going to have a hard time in every single relationship you go into. Because the man has to work twice as hard to prove to you that he is not a liar, not based upon something that he did to deserve that, but based upon your past pain, your past hurts, your past letdowns, your past frustrations with men who have lied to you in the past. Most of which you are already aware of, because some women you love to be lied to. You knew it was a lie. You accepted it anyway. You overlooked it. You turned a blind eye to it. You know damn well he was lying to you. You knew he was lying to you. But you turned a blind eye to it because the money was rolling in, the finances, there was security there financially. There was security there, socially, because you could still go out and tell other people you were married, even though realistically you weren't married. You understand? You as a woman have to be able to distinguish a real trust issue with your spouse versus an insecurity about past that stems from past issues that you have brought with you into your current relationship. The man hasn't given you a reason to not trust him. You just lumped everybody into one category and you said all men are liars. All men lie. Right, and then by the time you're ready to trust and fix the relationship, man is done with being emotionally abused, he's out. And then it just adds to men ain't nothing anyway. He just leaving me. Oh, damn it. He was with you for how many years tolerating your accusations, your accusatory statements? How many years was he with you dealing with that? And then eventually he gets to the point, coming to the realization that I am never going to be any better than the box you put me in from the very beginning based upon past pains that you have experienced. I'm never going to get out of that box. I'm never going to get out of that box. The thing about it, sisters, if you look for something long enough, you'll find what you're looking for. If you look for something long enough, you'll find what you're looking for. The reward, the recompense of being suspicious is finding what you're looking for. That's the reward of being suspicious. And in our religion, we're taught not to be suspicious. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, وَلَا تَجَسَّسُوا, don't spy on one another. Don't be suspicious of one another. And for a woman to put a man in that box that all men lie, you can't trust no man, then guess what? You don't need to be in a relationship. Here again, trust is a choice. When you go into a relationship with a man, you have a choice to trust him or not. And if you choose not to trust a man, why in the hell would you go in a relationship with him? I don't want no woman in a relationship with me that doesn't trust me. I'm not saying me personally. I'm just saying, speaking in first person. Don't bring me into your life. Don't bring me into your mess. If you don't trust me, if you don't trust what I'm bringing into the relationship, then don't enter into a relationship with me to begin with. Don't waste my time. Don't waste my time. You got trust issues you need to go rectify. Once you rectify those things, then come back and see me, man. Just stay single. Absolutely. Stay single. Because you're not ready to go into a relationship. Oh, I got trust issues. If you got trust issues, stay the hell out of the institution of marriage. Stay out of the institution of marriage. If you have trust issues, trust is a choice. Nobody forcing you to trust anybody. You have a choice to trust that person or not to trust them. But you don't get to go into a relationship, have your cake and eat it too. I'm going to go into a relationship, but I still don't trust you. You understand? That's toxic, man. And it's not fair. It's not fair to the man in that relationship. All right? So the reward of being suspicious is finding what you're looking for. If you look long enough, you sit back saying, oh, I know he doing this, or I know he doing that. And he might not be doing any of that. But if you keep telling yourself that, eventually you're going to find something that's a cognitive bias. Eventually you're going to find something that justifies how you feel. You understand? You're eventually going to find what you're looking for. Trust is a choice. And if you are not ready to trust someone, then you might not be ready for marriage. So now let me give you, as I end, let me give you some remedies for this. Number one is that you have to accept, sisters, I'm talking to you, if you have trust issues, number one, you have to accept the fact that the men or man who hurt you in the past, that was his choice to hurt you. You did nothing wrong. That man decided to hurt you, to violate your trust in whatever way he violated that trust. That was not your fault. You have to own that he got that off. He got it off. The Prophet ﷺ said, "La yuldagu mu'min fi juhrin marratain," that the believer does not get stung in the same hole twice. He didn't say that the believer doesn't get stung. People can get it off on you. He got it off on you. And you just have to own that. You can't go into another relationship with somebody else trying to get back what was taken away from you. He violated your trust. He took something from you that was sacred. He got it off. And that's a learning, that's a lesson for you. I know better the next time. The believer does not get stung in the same hole twice. I got it. He got that off for me. I got it. The next time, not going to happen again. You understand? It's nothing on you. Stop looking at yourself, because what ends up happening, which is the second thing. Number one, the person that hurt you, that was that person's choice to do that to you. The why and all of that is really irrelevant. And you grow from that. You learn from that. Don't carry that pain with you into your next relationship, the next relationship. You walking around, unpack that bag, man. Unpack that stuff, man. He got it off on you. Unpack your bag. Stop carrying around this these bricks of, these bricks of, resentment, these bricks of, hatred, these bricks of, not forgiving yourself for allowing the person to get that off on you. It's a lesson. You learned it. La yuldagu mu'min fi juhrin marratain. The believer doesn't get stung in the same hole twice. He got it off. Okay. I learned my lesson. Number two, learn how to trust yourself. Learn how to trust yourself. Some of us have been hurt so deeply that we don't even trust ourselves anymore. And if you out going in and out of relationships and you don't have any trust within yourself, you're going to be taken advantage of every single time. Men love a woman who is confident. There's nothing more attractive to a man than a woman who is confident. Trust yourself. You understand? I spoke about this in the lecture, 5 ways of getting back to you. You can find the lecture on SoundCloud. 5 ways of getting back to you. Trust yourself, man. We've been hurt so many times. We've been disappointed so many times that women, you guys end up losing trust in your own self. You don't even trust yourself anymore. And men, we pick up on that stuff very quickly. If a man is out to take advantage of you, he will pick up on the fact that you are indecisive, you don't trust yourself. We'll pick up on that very quickly. This is how women get manipulated into being prostitutes. Because they don't trust themselves. They let another person outside of themselves define who they are. A pimp comes in and tells you, baby, I love you, and this, that. It's a codependency. And some of you women are codependent. You always need a man there to validate you. Always. If a man is not there to validate you, you feel like you are less than. You are inferior until a man comes along and validates that. Man doesn't validate you. A man is just a means to an end. He is there to help you get to Jannah. Not help you, for you to help yourself to get to Jannah. By serving him, by being obedient to him, by doing right by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala concern. You understand? He's just a means to an end. Just another person in my life to help me acquire hasanat so I can get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You understand? Your husband is just a means to an end. A man in your life is just a means to an end. And it's not that you're exploiting him for that reason, but not that you pour all of yourself into this person so much that when they leave out of your life, you're nothing. A man may break your heart, but he ain't break your spirit. Understand? And the last thing is trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The last thing is to trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We make istikhara. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to intervene, divinely intervene in my situation. And then sometimes when Allah shows us the reality of the situation, we totally reject, we totally ignore what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed us, and we go after it anyway. You didn't trust that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has your situation. You don't trust that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows your situation better than you do. You don't trust that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what's better for you better than you know what you know about yourself. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Asa an tuhibbu shay'an wa huwa sharrun lakum wa asa an takrahu shay'an wa huwa khayrun lakum wallahu ya'lamu wa antum la ta'lamun. Perhaps you may love a thing and it is bad for you. Perhaps you may hate a thing and it is good for you. Allah knows and you don't know. You understand? Trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you have that connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will never let you down. Allah will always show you what you need to see in order to make the decision that you need to make. Going back to the dua of Umar radiallahu anhu, Allahumma arina al-haqqa haqqa wa rizqna ittiba'a. Oh Allah, show me truth exactly the way that it is and give me the ability to follow it. Wa arina al-batila batila wa rizqna ijtinaba. And show us falsehood exactly the way it is and give us the ability to stay away from it. Allah will never let you down. But Allah can only do for you what you believe He can do for you. Hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ana inda dhanni abdi bi. I am as my servant thinks I am. And I can do for my servant what he believes I can do for him. Learning how to trust yourself. Learning how to trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And understanding that trust is a choice. And if you choose to trust someone going into a relationship with them and the person, violates that trust, that's on them, not on you. Any one of us can be taken advantage of. Even the Prophet ﷺ said that I am a man just like any one of you. He said, and two people from amongst you come to me arguing a point. He said, and I may judge the situation based upon the person who is more articulate, not based upon what's right or wrong. He says, so if I judge between you and I give you the right of your brother, don't take it. I'm only giving you a piece of the hellfire. This is the messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, guided by revelation, saying that he could be taken advantage of. He could be lied to. His trust could be violated. And on many occasions, his trust was violated. There are many times when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam trusted people and they violated him. Right? The hadith of Urayniyin. Some people came out of the desert, travelers, and they came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying they had some illness in their stomach. And the Prophet ﷺ told them to go out to, a farm that he had. And he had some cows out there, he had some camels out there, and he had a guy looking over, those things. And he said, go out there and tell the guy, I sent you, and drink from the urine of the camel because it'll cure the sickness in your stomach. And what did they do? They went out to the farm. They killed the farmer. They killed him. And they robbed the Prophet ﷺ and took all of his stuff. You understand? This is the messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam whose trust was violated. His trust was violated. So that could happen to any one of us, man. So inshallah ta'ala, this is class number 1, dealing with trust. Brothers, we have to stop lying to these women. We have to stand in our discomfort, be honest, understand that trust is built in our relationships when our statements and our actions are consistent. Inshallah ta'ala, I'll open up for a few minutes for questions and answers, inshallah ta'ala. وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.